All right, y'all know why we here. We're going to talk about the ESPN article written about Joel Embiid, where he gives access to pretty much his life. He opens up for the first time, I believe, in his career about what he has gone through throughout his entire career up until this point with the Philadelphia 76ers. He also gives some insight to his teammates, how he is as a person, and we're going to try to just unpack it because there was a lot. I don't think we're going to do an intro for this video, but make sure I hit that like and that subscribe button down below, turn and post notifications on so you never miss a video. Hit the like button, pushes it out to other people. They come and watch the video as well. But I'm just going to give my opinions on the article, some of the big things that stood out. There is a lot to unpack here. There's a lot that us Sixers fans, if you are like diehard Sixers fans like me and some of the other people, and I'm pretty sure that watch these videos, we all pretty much knew, but like it's now concrete evidence. There are people on Twitter. There is like controversy now on Twitter. People are arguing. Like there's people taking Joel's side. There's people taking the Sixers side. Like other fans outside of the Sixers are saying, "Oh my God," after reading this article, I'm rooting for Joel Embiid, and that's all fine and cool. I'm here to tell y'all that you don't have to take sides in this. Joel Embiid and the Philadelphia Sixers are equally wrong in this, right? Maybe the Sixers are a little bit more wrong, but they are equally wrong. They are both wrong. They both have done things throughout this entire Joel Embiid era that has not produced what we were expecting them to produce, and it's their fault that it ended up this way, right? They both have done things to each other out of pettiness or out of wanting to win or whatever that have not been the right decisions or the correct decisions. Maybe because the Sixers didn't have the infrastructure to deal with the player like Joel Embiid. Maybe Joel Embiid wasn't mature enough to deal with what the Sixers wanted him to do. Like there's a bunch of things that have happened throughout this tenure, and a bunch of things like it just gave Sixers fans a little bit of clarity on what we pretty much already knew. Starting off with his first foot surgery that Joel had, it came out, like he says in the article, he tried to tell the Sixers, this is during like the hinky days and everything. He basically tried to tell the Sixers his foot wasn't healing correctly because he felt like something else was wrong. But the Sixers front office and organization, they said, all right, you're just going to essentially have to learn how to play through the pain because we want to get you out there. And this is probably because the Sixers, they're at this point where they're in the beginning of the process. Everybody wants to just keep their jobs. So they're like, all right, we have to get our prize pick on the court. And Joel is telling them like, bro, no, like there's something wrong with my foot. Now this starts him not trusting the Sixers. And you can kind of see where it stems off like further in his career, and like where we are today. And it's like him just not trusting the Sixers front office. So he ends up getting some new doctors. He goes overseas or something. They take a look at his foot and they say, yeah, like there's something wrong. And Joel kind of wants to take a victory lap, but he doesn't. But like he knew like something was wrong with my foot. But this is where the mistrust comes in with him and the Sixers organization because they wouldn't listen to him. So now he doesn't trust them because he feels like they don't have his best interest at heart. And he starts doing that. He stops going to workouts. He doesn't go to practice. He doesn't take care of his body. And these are the things where like the Sixers also, I forgot. Oh, I don't know how I forgot about this, but they also have an intern overlooking Joel Embiid's recovery in his rehab, which is ridiculous, by the way. Like an injury, you have a prize number 3 pick, somebody that a lot of people say we see superstar potential in this player in the future for our organization, a franchise pillar. You put an intern in charge of his rehab and his recovery. What sense does that make? So that's where like the Sixers, like a lot came out in this article about the Sixers and how bad an organization they are. And I've been saying it lately, like they're a bad organization. They're like I don't want to cuss, but like they're just bad, right? But this is like, oh, like they're like a terrible organization to their players. Like this is really bad, bro. But like, it's also stuff we already knew as fans. We're like, all right, they're a bad organization. This just shows how bad they were. So to my point, this also is on Joel's fault because he then, just because of his trust issues and how he doesn't trust people, how he doesn't want to open up to people. He, like I say, he stops going to the workout. He doesn't take care of his body. He even admits in the interview, him doing these things, because he did them, I think he said he did this for like 3 to 4 years of like, he says if he did a better job of taking care of his body and like eating right and going to the workouts and going to the team meetings, like it played a part in his injuries leading up to now. And he says it in the article. People were mad at me because I said this is both of their faults. But like Joel said this in the interview, like if he just committed himself earlier, was a little bit more mature, like we are possibly not at this point where he's so injury prone. And like in the article, Nick Batum says like he looked at his knee one time, he didn't even know how he could walk. But if Joel just simply takes care of his body, like we have all been saying for years, like he needs to get in better shape. He needs to get on a diet. He needs to go to workouts. He needs to become a better leader. All of these different things. If Joel started early on in his career, we don't end up at this point that we're in now. And it also goes back to the Sixers not having the infrastructure to deal with a player like Joel Embiid. Where the Sixers were as an organization after you pick a player like Joel Embiid with the number 3 pick, you already know he's coming off I think it was a back injury coming out of college, and it led to the foot. And you're starting this you're trying to convince fans like we're turning it around. Everybody in the Sixers organization is now not looking at Joel Embiid as a person. They're just strictly looking at him as a basketball player and an asset. And they're like, yo, we need to get him on the court if we want to keep our jobs. That's how they're looking at it. Oh my God, I messed up my mic. That is how they're looking at it. Now, some might say that's wrong. 100% it's wrong. But like from a business standpoint, I'm just trying to let y'all know that's where they were coming from. It's 100% wrong. They weren't on the same page. Like Joel, as a player, just wants to get healthy. He wants to do the right things coming into the NBA. You got to remember, like he was going through a lot of mental things with his brother passing, him coming over from Cameroon. Like he says it in the article, like he still blames himself for the passing of his brother. So he was going through a lot of mental things. The Sixers org could care less about that. And you also have to remember this is during a time where mental health wasn't as prominent as it is now in society. Like the people weren't looking that deeply into mental health. This is around the time when did Joel get drafted? 2013 or something like that. But mental health wasn't as big as it is now. So the Sixers they weren't even thinking about that, could probably care less about it. And they were looking at, all right, how do we get Joel Embiid on the court to show off his talent so we can sell tickets, put butts in seats, and we can show the fans like, all right, we have something promising here. And that's where the mistrust comes from, right? And it's just it's terrible that they were there. I said it on Twitter. They're just a bad match for each other. It didn't start off great. The process and Joel being injured, like it was never a good pairing because, like I said, it didn't have the infrastructure to deal with a player like Joel at this point in his career. And Joel wasn't mature enough to understand the business aspect of basketball and where the Sixers were coming from. So they just clashed early on. Another thing, because like I said, this is a twofold thing. This is both of their faults. I'm just trying to explain to everybody like why I believe like this is both their faults and why we are here now. And where I'm like, this article didn't do anything for me. It actually made me feel worse about the Sixers. But it even Joel even talks about like the leadership things, and like he even says like he's not a born leader. He had to learn to be a leader, but he's not a vocal leader. He's a leader on the court, and like he leads by his actions on the court and different things like that. And it's like he's never on the court, so it's hard for him to be like that type of leader when he's never there. But it's like the things that you expect, that we all want Joel to be at this point in his career, or what we expect and what we were hoping he would be. It all goes back to the start of his career and how he was essentially raised through the Sixers organization and what he saw. And it probably wasn't great that they started off as a losing team with a losing culture and trying the process, like you're purposely losing games. So Joel, he's coming in as a young player. Now you're expected to be the focal point, the franchise pillar of this team. And you don't even know how to essentially be a man at this time because like he's coming from a completely different country. He's still trying to learn U.S. customs. Now he's fast tracked. He got to learn the NBA. Like he doesn't trust anybody over here. His brother just passed. Like it's so much mentally going on with him that he never got to mature into that leader that we were expecting him to be. But that's also kind of his fault. Staying on the basketball side of things, it's still his fault that he knows what he has to be essentially. And he kind of explains that in the article. He knows what he has to be, but at this point in his career or growing up with the Sixers, he's just like, no, Like I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it the way that you want me to do it. I'm going to do it the way that I want to do it. And it's like it's a detriment to the Sixers. It's a detriment to his teammates. It's a detriment to the players around him. It's just an overall bad look from both sides and how everything was always handled with Joel. But at the same time, Joel always said, and I don't think anybody has this. I don't think anybody has ever called Joel Embiid soft, because like, he's not soft. He has put his body on the line. He has sacrificed his body so many times to play basketball for the Sixers, and I don't even think it's been for the Sixers. I think it's just essentially just been for the fans who have supported him throughout his career, for his family. He loves the game of basketball, and he goes out there and he plays. He sacrifices his body. There's even a snippet of the article of his physical therapist before that game 5, I think, versus the Knicks, where his physical therapist had to text him after like his knee injury, and she was like, "You can't be playing on this knee, and we have to do something where we can get you to at least like a 25-minute restriction, because like you're just making it worse on yourself." She sent him a long text message. She asked him during the next day, like, "Joel, did you see this at his treat? He showed up for treatment on time." She said, "Joel, did you see this?" He said, "Yeah." He went out and dropped 50 that night. So no one can ever say he has not sacrificed himself or he has not been tough throughout this entire thing. I think everything with Joel has been just the mental side of basketball that everybody has been trying to get him to get into or get out of, I guess, of like, bro, we need you. There's more to basketball than just going out there and dropping 50. Like, we need you to be a leader. We need you to, it's just like the small things Joel has a problem with. And like Sixers fans just want him to improve on. And as a leader, you just have to be this type of player in order to win and be a championship team. But like little things like showing up to meetings on time, being on the bench when you're hurt and cheering on the team. Like, and I know he sits in the back most times, like when they have home games and stuff, but like just being there, just showing your face to see like, all right, I know that the big fella has my back on the bench, that, all right, I can go out there and play for him. Just being a leader, being there, and just showing face, different things like that. Being the first one in the gym, last one out. I know there was a lot of things coming out last season about how Joel is late to things. I just said late, but doesn't show up on time, doesn't really put through the max effort, different things like that, from that article with The Athletic. But like different things like that, he just hasn't shown to be that leader that the Sixers need. And if he is not that, I think we can all agree, like by this time, he's just not that leader. He's not that player that we need him to be, or we are expecting him to be. And that is okay. That is perfectly fine. When you look at it from another standpoint, that is now on the Sixers to identify that and get the player that you need to be the leader for this team. That player doesn't have to be on Joel's talent level. He doesn't have to be as good as Joel. He doesn't have to have multiple MVPs, but you need to bring in somebody that is able to pick up where Joel cannot. And that is on the Sixers organization. That is something that they did not help him with, knowing that he has struggled with mental issues. And mental issues just sounds bad because I don't want to say that I don't want to put like the depressed label on him either, because I don't know him personally, and he didn't even say he was depressed. He did say he was down. So I guess like, you know how down he is and how in his head he is and how untrustworthy he is. And you know, he struggles to open up to people. So now you need to bring in someone that is able to do that. And that was probably Jimmy Butler. And I'm going to talk about something else about this too, that was also Joel's fault. But as the Sixers as an organization failed him on that part, trying to grow him into a leader that you knew that he was not. And that is somewhere where they mismanaged his injuries. They tried to force him on the court. They just did not have the infrastructure to deal with him, to help him out in any way. They didn't care about him. They probably still don't care about him now as a person. They look at Embiid as an asset and a player that they need on the floor to possibly bring a championship to the Philadelphia 76ers. They're not looking at Joel Embiid, the person. They're looking at Joel Embiid, the basketball player. And that is wrong on them because it's hand in hand. You have to take care of the player and the person when you're running a sports franchise. And that is probably why they don't have a culture now. There's not a culture setter in that building except for Tyrese Maxey, and that has just started to bloom this offseason. But also, Joel Embiid's fault. because I'm just going to keep going back and forth because this was equally on both of them throughout his career. Joel starts the interview off basically saying he has 10,000 unread text messages. He has 1,000 missed calls. And then he says like the usual way to get in contact with him is going through his agent or his wife. Brother, I get it. That's insane. Like, he has to be. I understand you don't want to talk to people. I understand you're pretty much is it recluse or recluse? I don't know how to say the word. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But like, pretty much to yourself, you're pretty much like Batman. But like, I understand that is the player or the person that you are. But we all here who are all in our jobs and work in a team setting at some point, if you want to be a leader or you are in that team setting, you have to open up, even if it's just a little bit, in order to be successful at your job, especially if you are working in a team setting. You cannot just sit back, closed off from everybody, not answering any questions, not telling people about yourself. That is, you literally cannot do it if you want to be successful in your job. It's just not something that will help in the long run, because now other people are just not going to trust you back. And then trust is a two-way street. So trust me, bro. I get it. You don't trust people. You don't want to talk to people. You want to stay to yourself. You want to be a family man. Trust me, bro. I get it. But 10K unread messages, 1,000 missed calls. You have to be a better communicator, especially if you want people to help you out. I'm not saying you have to be outgoing. And I know a lot of people that probably watch these videos, you're probably introverts. I'm an introvert myself. I go out though. I do different things. I talk to people, but so I get it. But you have to open yourself up if you want the help that you are looking for. You can't just be quiet and close off to everybody and expect people to just come through your bubble that you're in, your barriers that you're setting up to figure out what's going on with you, right? It's, like I said, trust is a two-way street. The reason I say this is because in the article, Joel also says he doesn't talk to the front office about player movement or who should be on the team, who should be off the team, anything like that. He even says Jimmy could have stayed if he said something. He also says Harden probably would have stayed if he just spoke up and said something. But he said those two players could have stayed if he just spoke up and said something. But he says it's just a pride thing. He doesn't want to be responsible for anybody losing their job. And Joel, I'm sorry, but that's on you. You cannot be this closed off person that won't talk to the org and won't let the org help you when they probably are coming to you saying, "Hey Joel, who should we have on the team? How is this going to help you out?" But then after they make and then when they come to you and you say, I don't have any input on it, that's your job. And then when they go make the moves where they think is going to help you out, and then you complain afterwards, you can't do that. I'm so sorry, you can't do that. You just have to be a better communicator. And as a leader, as the franchise pillar, they're going to you because we need to figure out how we can maximize your talent. And if you don't help them out, help me help you. That's the best way that I can put it. So that is on Joel. He has to be better with that. Imagine Joel still here. I brought up Jimmy Butler like a couple of minutes ago, and how they probably did bring in a leader that could pick up Joel's slack to where, like, pick up where Joel lacks. It was probably Jimmy Butler, but because Joel didn't say anything to try to keep him here, and I know there's a whole other story of Ben, and they had to pick between Jimmy and Ben and whatever, but from this article, this is what Joel Embiid said. If he had said something, then Jimmy would probably still be a Sixer. So that's what I'm saying, bro. Like, you cannot do that. That is on Joel. Imagine if we still had the Joel Jimmy team, even if Ben is gone. Jimmy in his prime, Joel in his prime. They somehow end up getting Maxey. I don't know how that would work because they probably would have been too good. But no. Did they get Maxey? Oh, no. Yeah, I'm right. They would have had Maxey yet. But just imagine that team still, and you have Jimmy Butler, who is now the official locker room leader Then you have Joel as the leader on the court and leading by example. And Jimmy is the one that can get everybody in order and be that leader, show up on time. He probably can set an example and be a culture setter for Joel and the Philadelphia 76ers. So Joel, like, I'm sorry, but you just can't go. And even the Harden thing, like Harden would have stayed. I know a lot of people, I have a different opinion on Harden, but a lot of people saying Harden could have still been here. It would have been good, whatever. That's a whole nother topic. But still, if Joel just speaks up and is a leader and say, all right, I need this, this, and this, and this for us to succeed, it's a completely different conversation, a completely different era. But he refuses to do that. And that's on him. But all in all, like I said, it's on Joel Embiid and it's also on the Philadelphia 76ers. It's like a toxic relationship that is not getting any better. I don't even think they have a functional working relationship at this point to where they can continue. I truly believe, and I said this on Twitter, I truly believe this was like a soft launch for Joel requesting a trade, because the way that he talked in the article, like there's no coming. He's sending like direct shots at the front office. And like the guy, Dotun, talked to Morey and Nick Nurse, and they didn't have any like glowing remarks about Embiid, especially when talking about his injury. So it's like, I think it was a soft launch for him being traded. I think that this was also, it was either him being traded or him like, I'm retiring when my contract is up, or I'm retiring within the next 2 years. And like, that's just how it sounded, bro. Also, another thing that was wrong with Joel, like another thing that came out about his physical therapist that was with him for 9 years, that texted him about that night of the Knicks game where he dropped 50 and saying like he needs to be better. So like recently, Joel has such trust issues where he feels like he's betrayed easily. When that physical therapist told him that she can't work with him anymore just due to family things, like Joel, he says he understood it, but like he felt betrayed, and like he doesn't talk to her as much as he used to. I think they talk like once a month now, where they used to talk every day. And then she says like she thinks this is the first year like she won't be invited to Arthur's birthday party. And like it's just like it's whatever is going on with Joel, and he's just in his head so much, and it's just because of what has gone on in his past. Like I get it, bro. It's what is going on with his past, his brother passing, him not being able to trust people. He even says like he does this thing where he leaves money on the table, or he did it when he was younger. He leaves money on the table, and then people that come in, he's like trying to look and see if anybody will take it, because he'll know exactly who took the money if somebody does. And it's just like he has this weird, it's not weird, like I get it, but it's like over controlling, like over like really bad trust issues. And it's like, to a point I get it, but it's like, it's tough, man. I mean, you expect this is like your franchise player, and it's like everything, I don't know, bro. It's both their fault. It's the Sixers and it's Joel Embiid's fault. I will continue to hammer that, because like a lot of people are picking sides and you don't have to. They are not a match. Joel Embiid and the Philadelphia 76ers, they don't get along. They are not a match for each other. Maybe the best way is for them to part ways, and that is trading Joel, and the Sixers also cleaning house and firing everybody in that building. This needs to be a complete reset, hard reset of this team, and they need to go from there and build out from the new talent that you have brought in. But let me know what you think of the article, what you think of Joel Embiid, what you think of the Sixers side. How do they move forward? Like, how do the Sixers win games now? Like, what do you think is going to happen? Let me know in the comment section below. I'll holla at y'all.